All right, let's jump right into me and the boys wrestling, shall we? Faction Wars just got completely flipped on its head, and you know I love chaos, so let's dig into it.
Yeah.
You sent over some pretty intense footage and notes, and yeah, it's wild. New alliances, power shifts, all that good stuff.
It's amazing how one event, one match, can just totally rewrite the power structure, isn't it?
Yeah?
And that War Games match with Angela King's crew, it's a perfect example of that.
Okay, so for those maybe not as familiar with war games, picture two rings side by side, giant steel cage around them, two teams. They enter like in stages, and it's a no-holds-barred, just total brawl until one team is completely down. Brutal stuff.
Oh, yeah. And the violence is kind of the point, right? I mean, it's a spectacle, and this match definitely lived up to that. But what makes it really important is the rise of Angelo King and his high-rolling soldiers, HRS.
Right. Angelo King, who's been, doing his own thing, flying solo, suddenly comes in with this, like, all-star team.
And not just any team, right? We're talking Primetime, P, J Omega. These guys are headliners in other leagues, big names.
Huge.
It really shows you King's ability to bring in talent, but also it says something about me and the boys wrestling. It's becoming the place to be. And that raises the stakes for everyone.
Oh, for sure. And they didn't just show up. They, like, demolished the match, took down the Mega Maniacs, Trump, Musk, the whole crew. Blood everywhere, table spot. Even the January 6th shaman went flying off the cage.
I mean, that shaman dive, wild. But honestly, the outcome was the real shocker. In war games, you see the winning team doesn't just win, they inherit everything. The points, the position in faction wars, it all goes to them. So Angelo King and the HRS, bam, they go from brand new to contenders overnight.
Wait, are you saying Trump and his crew are basically fired from faction wars? That's a power move.
You got it. And that's what makes this so interesting. The HRS, major force now, they've made it clear they're here to win, and they aren't messing around.
But there's a twist, isn't there? Angelo King isn't really the leader, right? More like their protege.
Exactly. He put this group of veterans together, but they all have their own goals, you know? It's like, imagine a team of super skilled mercenaries. They each have their own special skills and ambitions.
So how does that even work? Is there going to be friction in the HRS, these big personalities? Could they clash?
Great question. And it's something we definitely have to watch. King's got some strong personalities on his team, for sure. Managing those egos, that could be his biggest challenge. But if he can pull it off, if he can harness that combined power, well, the HRS could be unstoppable.
Okay, so we've got this new faction, led by a protege, potential for some serious internal fireworks, and the Megamaniacs probably wanting revenge. What else is happening in faction wars?
Well, while all that was going down, there was this other wrestler, quietly making waves. French Lover, he's been taking down members of the NXG faction left and right, earned the nickname the NXG Killer.
Yeah, NXG, they've been running things for a while. Cameron Taylor, he's their leader, and they've been, pretty untouchable until French Lover came along.
Exactly. And French Lover's latest win, that was against Buzzsaw Butcher, another tough NXG member. It was a brutal, brutal match, back and forth. Took 3 of his signature moves, the broken heart attacks, to finally put Butcher down.
3. Wow. But what makes this even juicier, right, is Road Pig. He's with NXG, but he's also in DM's mentorship program. Another whole layer of complexity.
Oh, yeah. And where does Road Pig's loyalty lie? Does he stick with NXG, or will this rivalry with French Lover pull him somewhere else?
Good question. I guess we'll have to see how that unfolds. Now, while King was making his entrance and French Lover was racking up those wins against NXG, another faction was quietly cleaning up. The Purifiers.
Yeah, they had a great run in the 8-person elimination match and the Royal Rumble. Racked up a ton of points. They are a force to be reckoned with, that's for sure.
But there's some internal tension brewing there too, right? Their own members.
Oh, for sure. Clockwork and the Droid, they had a really intense showdown during the Royal Rumble. Both wanted that win, and that competitive spirit, it could become a problem for them.
So we've got the Purifiers with their own internal battles, French Lovers shaking things up, the HRS making a splash. Faction Wars is about to explode.
And speaking of explosions, get ready for Gold Rush. This is the big one. Every title is up for grabs. We're talking championship matches across the board, and the stakes, they couldn't be higher.
Okay, let's break it down. We've got DMP going against Fingers in a last man standing match for the Me and the Boys Championship. That's going to be brutal.
Oh, yeah, a true test of will. Both those guys are tough as nails, so expect a lot of punishment on that one.
Then we've got Jabberwocky taking on Danger Boy for the QLW title, which is always a high-flying, crazy match.
And don't forget the Best Friends going up against Cameron Taylor for the tag team titles. And this one's got that extra layer of tension, right? Because HR, well, he's got a serious grudge against Cameron Taylor.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not clear why.
Yeah.
So who knows what HR is going to do, but it's going to be dramatic.
Absolutely. Then we've got Spectre versus Veronique for the Ladies' Championship and Holden Rhodes challenging DMP for the Only Heels Championship.
Wait, so DMP's defending 2 titles in one night. That's insane.
Yeah.
He's a busy guy. And then there's the Mixed Tag Team Championship, but that lineup is totally up in the air with the HRS changing everything. We'll have to wait and see how that one shakes out.
So Gold Rush is basically like a who's who of Me and the Boys Wrestling.
Yeah.
All the titles on the line, rivalries boiling over. It's going to be epic.
It's the kind of event that can completely reshape the league, you know? And with so many things in play, it's impossible to say who'll come out on top.
Okay, so we've got HRS making their statement, French Lover taking down NXG, the Purifiers trying to keep it together, and Gold Rush right around the corner. It's a lot to process.
It is, but I think the biggest question here is, what happens when HRS and NXG finally collide? Because it's gonna happen.
That's what I was thinking. This new faction, full of veterans, going up against the powerhouse that is NXG, something's got to give.
And there's already bad blood, especially between HR and Cameron Taylor. I don't see this ending peacefully.
So all-out war, strategic chess match, backstabbing and power plays. What do you think?
Well, that's what we're gonna explore next. Buckle up, because this is where things get really interesting. Yeah, it's like a clash of the titans, right? HRS, this seasoned group of veterans, they're used to being in charge. And then you have NXG, built on dominance, Cameron Taylor's leadership.
Old guard versus the new generation. It's classic.
Exactly, and that adds another layer to all this, doesn't it? But it's not just about generations, it's about power, respect, who controls the whole league.
Okay, so let's play this out. What if HRS uses their experience, tries to outsmart NXG, isolate key members, exploit weaknesses, dismantle them from the inside?
Oh, it's definitely a possibility. These veterans, they know the game, they've been around. Psychological warfare, manipulating situations, turning NXG members against each other. They could do it.
But NXG, they don't back down, right? They could just hit back with brute force, overwhelm HRS with numbers, aggression.
True, but brute force doesn't always win, does it? HRS has shown they're smart, strategic. They could use NXG's aggression against them.
Brains versus brawn, huh?
Maybe. But there are wild cards, too. Like French Lover, he's targeting NXG, remember? If he keeps winning, that weakens them, gives HRS an opening.
Oh, right. And what about Road Pig, stuck between NXG and DM's program? Could he get caught in the middle of all this?
Absolutely. He's a valuable player. Both sides might try to get him on their team. His choice, it could really shift things.
So HRS may be using strategy, NXG may be going with strength, and wild cards like French Lover and Road Pig that could swing things either way. It's like a giant chess game.
And let's not forget Gold Rush. Right around the corner. Things could really heat up there.
It's huge. Every single title is up for grabs. Chance to prove themselves, get in the spotlight.
Exactly. And for HRS and NXG Gold Rush, it's a chance to make a statement. Solidify their position, weaken the other, gain some serious momentum.
So how do you see them approaching Gold Rush? Going for those titles, or using it as a battleground to settle their scores?
Probably both, right. They'll want those championships, but they'll also be looking to take each other down. Interference, backstage confrontations, maybe even some surprise alliances. Who knows?
Speaking of alliances, haven't even talked about the Purifiers. Where do they fit into all of this? HRS versus NXG.
Another piece of the puzzle, right? Right now, they seem focused on their own issues. But they could easily become the deciding factor in all of this.
So they could side with HRS or NXG.
Exactly. And their decision, that could tip the scales. Or they could stay out of it, focus on themselves, let HRS and NXG weaken each other.
Lots of possibilities. Sounds like the future of Me and the Boys Wrestling depends on what these factions do over the next few weeks.
And that's what makes it so great. Unpredictable, exciting, keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Okay, let's focus on Gold Rush for a second. DMP, he's defending 2 titles that night. Think that's going to affect him?
Talk about pressure, right? Defending one title is tough enough. 2 in one night, you need stamina, physical, and mental.
Yeah, and tough opponents too.
Yeah.
Fingers, last man standing, that'll be brutal. And Holden Rhodes, he's a rising star. He wants that title.
Plus, the psychological impact. DMP knows everyone's watching, including HRS and NXG. He wants to prove he's still the best, but that pressure can make you make mistakes.
It's like he's walking a tightrope.
Exactly. One wrong step and it's all over.
And then there's the Tag Team Championship, Best Friends versus Cameron Taylor. With HR and his grudge, things could get really intense.
Oh, yeah. That match was already going to be something else, but now, with HR, it's totally unpredictable. He could sabotage Taylor, try to embarrass him publicly, who knows?
And the Best Friends, how are they going to deal with all this? They're stuck in the middle.
Tough spot for them. They want those titles, but they got to be careful. Don't want to get caught in the crossfire.
So Gold Rush is shaping up to be more than just about championships, isn't it? It's where these factions could go head-to-head, try to make their moves.
Exactly. And the results of these matches, they could have huge consequences for me and the boys wrestling going forward. It really feels like, I don't know, a turning point for me and the boys wrestling. Like something big is about to happen.
Yeah. You've got HRS, this powerful new faction. They want to prove themselves.
And NXG trying to hold on to their spot after being on top for so long.
Like empires clashing,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone else is stuck in the middle.
And Gold Rush, it's going to be the battleground, I think.
Okay, so let's talk about, what happens after all this? What's the fallout?
If HRS takes down NXG, I mean, that changes everything. The whole power structure of the league is rewritten.
A new era for me and the boys wrestling, right? HRS in charge.
But if NXG survives, if they hold on, that sends a message too. They're not going anywhere.
Either way, it's going to be interesting to see how the other factions react, and the individual wrestlers too.
Right. Do they side with HRS thinking they'll benefit?
Or stick with NXG, try to keep things as they are.
And what about those wrestlers who aren't part of any faction right now?
Excellence. Ricky Goldman, Brad Blade, guys like that.
Exactly. They could become really important. Their choices could help one faction or the other.
It's like that game, Whisk. Everyone wants control of the whole board.
And don't forget the personal stuff, the rivalries. That adds fuel to the fire.
Like HR and Cameron Taylor, all that bad blood.
That could have a ripple effect, Betrayals, new alliances, things you don't expect.
It's a mess of ambition, loyalty, revenge. Hard to tell how it's all going to play out.
Yeah.
Okay, let's zoom out for a second. Bigger picture.
Right. What does this power struggle mean for me and the boys wrestling in the long run?
Could it make things more exciting? More competition, new stars, storylines that keep changing?
Or does it just make everything unstable? Factions fighting all the time, the whole league suffers.
Big questions. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Me and the boys wrestling is at a crossroads, that's for sure.
The choices these factions make over the next few weeks, that's going to determine the future.
And we get to watch it all unfold, right? Front row seats to the drama.
So, heading into Gold Rush, and after that, pay attention to everything. Shifting alliances, betrayals, anything can happen.
Because in me and the boys wrestling, anything is possible. You know that.
This has been great. A real deep dive into faction wars. Thanks for all the notes and footage. Can't wait to see how this all plays out.
And remember, wrestling, it's more than just entertainment. It's about those things we all want, Power, glory, even revenge.
So next time you watch a match, think about why they're doing what they're doing. The strategies, the stories, in the ring and out of it.
Maybe you learn something about yourself along the way. Who knows?
Until next time, keep watching Me and the Boys Wrestling, and let's hear those predictions.